Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for 1 Million Cups this morning. I'm your host, Trezzy. We're going to go through some announcements. We'll run around the room, do some introductions, and then we'll kick it over to our presenters. So first off, I want to say a quick thanks to our sponsors, DreamBank for the space, and Starting Block for their continued support. Mark is over here somewhere. Hey, Mark. Also, if you don't already have it, make sure to go grab the 1 Million Cups app on your phone and come check in. Let us know that you're here. Next week, we are off. That's a real thing this time. I know I announced a couple weeks ago that we were going to be off next week, and I was wrong. This time, Josh said it. So if it's wrong, it's his fault. All right, we're going to run around and do some introductions real quick, and we'll kick off our presentation. Like I said, I'm your host, Trezzy. I'm the MC and one of the co-organizers here at 1 Million Cups. I'm also a software engineering consultant.
My name's Joey. I am a technology investment manager with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation.
Good morning, I'm Josh Helling. My firm Rootstack Partners works with startups and growing technology companies on software product strategy.
Hi, I'm Mark. I work with Starting Block. I'm the community manager and I work on making connections for our startups.
Okay. I'm Anthony. I'm from DaVinci Industries and we're the ones actually presenting today.
I'm Ryan. I'm the CTO for DaVinci Industries.
I'm Keith Fuller, and I'm the founder of All About EX, which is a service that handles all things people for startups.
John Helt, Springfield Welding and Manufacturing, and Mass Case Fire and Rescue Training Products.
Dan Anderson, I'm with Baker Tilly.
I'm Ben Paula. I am building some apps.
I'm Rachel DePont. I'm with Spaces Nextdoor and also I9 Sports.
Hi, Steve Claude, co-founder of 32 Auctions, which is a platform for hosting and managing fun, easy, successful silent auctions.
Do you want to introduce Kurt even though he's not here?
It doesn't feel right.
I'm Derek Evelyn. I'm a digital media technologist.
I'm Ian Astrike, founder of Ancestral Health Coaching, which uses your own DNA and ancestry to craft a personalized health plan.
Carl Lippert, co-founder of FeedX. We help farmers find the right feed.
I'm DP Knowton. I'm a marketing guy who helps people tell their completely you non-fiction brands via the most efficient channels possible.
Brittany Collins with Riley Penner Benton and Staff Accounting.
I'm Angie Allen with Riley Penner Benton. Just want to remind you the year is closing, so if you haven't done your tax planning, you might want to take a look.
Peter Gaddy, wealth manager with Merrill Lynch. We provide financial peace of mind.
Chuck Sarah, intellectual property attorney at DeWitt.
Gene Sarmiento, Legal Shield, business development side. We literally put a law firm in the palm of your hands. We are Legal Shield app.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and kick it over to our presenter. Let's hear it for DaVinci Industries.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out, too. So, we're DaVinci Industries, and we're here to talk to you about our product, Acutrack, the next generation in inventory management solutions. Now, before we do that, I kind of want to talk to you about the issues that we all have when we go to a retail store. Many of us experience out-of-stock inventory every single day when we go to a store. In fact, 32% of shoppers experience this when they go to a store. But the most staggering part is those 32% of shoppers are then 52% more likely to purchase products online. A lot of times, while still in the store. So how do we deal with this issue that leads to $1 trillion being lost due to out-of-stock inventory? We can deal with it with Acutrack. Acutrack is the first ever retail store fixture product with built-in automation. So the first version we have, our Gen 1 version, has a front-facing belt mechanism that pulls products forward, so you no longer have to have employees do that. Something that can cost retailers $100,000 a year of just pulling products forward. We also have anti-theft capability designs for both the mechanical and electronic design of Acutrack. And lastly, but most importantly, Acutrack is the first ever retail store fixture product with built-in tracking technology, letting you know exactly how much inventory you have on the shelf without the need of cameras or other things that might be violating the privacy of your customers. So how does Acutrack's software work?
So let's just jump straight into the software. The insights from Acutrack are delivered through our cross-platform, mobile-friendly web software. To make this as functional as possible on screens from desktop computers to touchscreen smartphones, we started with an overview of the entire store, which shows Acutrack-enabled shelves highlighted in colors such as these. When you hover, in later versions, you'll be able to change the colors on these shelves to highlight different patterns, such as movement frequency, planogram efficiency, or even theft patterns. Hovering over any shelf gives you a quick tooltip of what the stock level in that current shelf is, as well as a couple other stats. And then if you click on that, you can actually enter a expanded view that shows you the details of every Acutrack and its position. With this installed in the store, when any hook in the store moves, our software will react in real time to show you the changes in positions of that hook and let you know that that product has moved. We have deep optimizations to make sure this software works very well, even in environments with really bad internet connections. For example, inspecting these Acutracks and filtering them happens entirely on the client computer, so you don't need to wait for an external server. Data such as this is immensely powerful, but personally identifying information can be a legal and public relations nightmare. Our only competition who can provide this kind of data do so by using facial recognition implemented with lots of cameras. This technology carries significant risk of damaging customer trust. For example, feeding demographic information into a theft prediction model could be technically and politically problematic, but the difficult part is public opinion only cares about the potential for abuse, not the finer points of proper anonymization. Furthermore, this technology carries significant risk of being legalized out of existence in some countries. If you're investing in a new system which is expected to run for several years, you don't want the legal landscape shifting beneath you and making that obsolete. Acutrack addresses these problems by removing the potential for abuse in a way the consumer can directly see and understand. Acutrack only knows when a product moves, not who moves it, which gives retailers the data they need to compete without the liability of a huge database of person-identifying information.
So how did this idea come about? Where did we come up with the idea to make a product like this? And really, how did we become interested in scan hooks in the retail store fixture market, which, let's be honest, many people are not interested in? Well, we actually started this because back in my childhood, my grandfather started a company called Southern Imperial, which became one of the largest retail store fixture manufacturers in the US. So I actually grew up around this industry, but the most important thing is I saw a lack of innovation within this space. I saw that many people were not bringing in the technology that currently exists into an industry that really needed to adopt to better benefit the retailers they were working with. So when I came to St. Olaf, I started DaVinci Industries, looking at innovating these type of products, and that's what we designed Acutrack and pitched at many pitch competitions like the Holy Cup, which is our version of an entrepreneur pitch competition where we placed first in. We want to go pitch on at the IoT Awards, where we actually are one of the top 20 IoT startups in the world for the technology we're developing, as well as we've been recognized by Red Herring as one of the top 100 startups in North America to watch in 2019. And at St. Olaf, watching Ryan, what he was developing, that's when we came to know each other and realized I really need to knew tech better than I did, because I don't know tech very well at all. And that's how we really became together to develop the technology that we're now currently deploying within 15 different stores for a front-facing version, and looking to start the development of the electronics next year and really show the true benefit of Acutrack to customers. But also, let's talk a little bit more about the fun numbers. So we got here looking at our revenue model. The basic front-facing version sells for $3, the anti-theft version, $6, and the tracking version, $8. And we actually did a case study with a large retailer that I can't disclose who it is because of an NDA, but we actually did a test there and realized that Acutrack's front-facing version alone can pay for itself in 71 days by the fact that you no longer have to have employees go around in front-face products. Now just imagine what that will be for the tracking technology. The traction to date since selling the product of this year in February is we generated $29,000 in sales of just testing locations that are currently looking at using this product, including Ace Hardware, Dollar General, 7-Eleven, and Dollar Tree. And I'm also happy to say that we actually signed a licensing agreement with Brugman Retail Group for the mechanical design that we have on the market, and they're in over 70,000 stores with their product currently. And of course, you gotta have legal protection if you're gonna actually do a licensing agreement. So we actually did file for a US utilities patent, which has been approved recently, which is very exciting. We also have an international provisional patent that we plan to file for different countries and areas that we think Acutrack will have a major benefit for the tracking technology. And we're also finalizing the copyright by the end of this year on Acutrack for its software capabilities. And with this one, really, when we're looking at the market, what is the market for a product like this? Well, in the US alone, there are 700,000 retail establishments currently that we think Acutrack would be a good fit for, because they currently don't have a way to better monitor their inventory on the shelf level. This market is a $1.7 billion market, and globally, it's a $16.89 billion market. So really, if we can even capture a fraction percentage of this market, we can bring benefit of millions of dollars to the retailer. Now let's talk a little bit about the competition, because obviously there's competition out there. We actually brought the competition with us. So this is FFR's anti-spiral unit. It costs $10 a unit, it's 3 times larger than Acutrack, and takes 5 times longer to load. And as you can tell, this is the noise it makes when it loads, and when you take product off, really not satisfying, kind of makes you feel like a criminal. But the more important part is the fact that it does not have tracking technology. There's no way to track anything in this. It's just a giant, typically a vending machine type thing that you see in stores. But people are buying them too. So you will see these in Home Depot, Lowe's, even in some Ace Hardware stores, they have products like this. And the other one up here, NU's T1000 unit, also currently on the market, 2 times larger than Acutrack, still takes 5 times as long to load. Much cooler, it has a 3-button push system, so you push on it, you wait 3 seconds, you can take the next product off. I got a sample and kind of broke it, so I'm hoping to improve a little bit on that. But those are the 2 types of products that we're looking to compete with within the hook space. But of course, we want to develop this technology not just for hook products. We're looking at doing this for shelving, for anything you see in the store really. So looking at pusher systems, rollers, a map for the shelves that actually lets you track all that inventory. Our goal is to have inventory tracking be reusable with any store that you go to. And the business landscape is very competitive and quite frankly, pretty dominated by 3 major companies: Southern Imperial, FFR, and Triumph Industries. And recently, Southern Imperial and FFR formed into one major company called Sifron Industries. So now they are the largest player in the field currently. However, we've had interest from many companies located in electronics, front-facing, security, such as Checkpoint, who has their products in over 100,000 stores. Indu Security, who has their products in 50,000 stores. Brugman Retail Group, who we're currently partnered with, who has their products in 70,000 stores. And Best Securities Industries, who has their products in 50,000 stores. And of course, with any great product, you need a great team behind it. So we worked really hard to develop a good team of both young people that have knowledge and are willing to adapt and change, but also people who have expertise within the field currently. So like I mentioned, I've been working on this for 2 years and actually grew up around this space. We also have Ed DeMarco, who's our Senior Vice President of Business Development. He has over 20 years of experience in the retail fixture industry. We have Carl Lewis, who has over 20 years of experience with RFID and Bluetooth communication. We have Sam Ronaldo, who's our COO, and he has over 17 years of experience in the retail store fixture space. And then we have Brian Zimmerman, who's our CTO, who has 5 years of experience with software development and has an amazing ability to blend physical and digital products together. Now, what we're really asking for from you guys is to really help us find more stores that might be willing to test our product and really give us valuable feedback, or even just have a conversation with us so that we can better implement this and better design the product for what people are looking for. Right now, we're really looking for people to test just the front-facing version, but starting beginning of next year, we really want to get people on the tracking technology and get as many case studies out there as we can do case studies for a very affordable cost of only $300 a year per case study. And of course, we also want connections to other startups within the retail tech space. We really want to integrate with these other companies so we can provide end-to-end logistics in any situation, from shipping to the store to even once the person buys the product. And to do that, really, we're trying to make life easier for the customers, employees, and the retailer. We're trying to bridge the gap between the physical and digital space and to simplify your retail experience. That's it.
Anthony, how'd you get DaVinci?
DaVinci. So I got it, well, for several reasons. One is because when I was thinking about products, I thought about simplicity, and DaVinci has a saying that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So I want to make products that were simple. And surprisingly, DaVinci Industries as a name was not taken yet. And there's plenty of other DaVincis, but this one's still not one taken yet. We're filing a trademark on that right now too.
Can you talk about the customer experience? If I go up to one of these rack mounts, I can pull the product off, I can turn around, look at it, blah, 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 decide I don't want it and put it back with no friction or anything like that?
Yeah, so we designed it so that, so we designed it so when your product's coming off, right, that loop just came off. So when you put it back on, you have a landing space right here, and I'll just push right back onto it.
What happens when I put another product back on the wrong rack?
Great question. So what we're working on doing is we're integrating eventually with POS systems in stores too. So if you do put on the wrong rack, what you'll eventually see within the store is, okay, this product's been taken off the shelf, but it hasn't been sold. Chances are it's sitting on the shelf somewhere on the wrong rack, or someone stole it. So we can actually send notifications out saying, hey, this product came off the shelf, but it was never sold.
So I understand the front-facing mechanism and also how the tracking work. Help me understand the anti-theft version of your product.
Definitely. So there's two versions. One's going to be just the mechanical one. So for example, with the FFR unit, this is all just designed for theft, right? So you can only take one product, turning this thing forward. We're looking at a similar design, something that's much more fluid with the customer base. So designing that with a specialized hook or changing our roller system to make it so you can only take one product every 5 seconds. So it slows down what's called sweeping, where people will go and take all the products and take them. So it's more for professionals, but on the electronic side, if that unit goes from 13 down to 0, that's a good indication of theft as well. So we can actually send an employee over. I'm not going to say, hey, you're stealing. The thing they're going to say is, hey, can I help you in any way? And plenty of studies have shown that's enough to deter theft.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
Actually, to add to that though, we also have a locking version of it, and then the next, a locking design for it, and then the next iteration of the lock will integrate with software to do really interesting control mechanisms.
DP? Another question I have is, number one, nice presentation, succinct, followed your story. There was a metric in there that I really wanted you to tell us about, and that is the number of rack slots in America. Okay. Like that big, huge number. I mean, you mentioned the aggregate number, but if you told me that in Walgreens alone there were 2.6 million of these, I'd be going, oh, 2.6 million opportunities to sell this product to them. And I just think that would be a powerful metric.
That would be really helpful, actually. I'll write it down right now. Because that's a really good point. Because like I should have said it. Because in a Walmart store, there's 15,000.
Yeah.
Per store.
Times. Per store. And do the math on screen and walk people down that calculation, and you've opened up a lot of wallet possibilities, I think.
I guess on that note, like, do the retailers, like, I'm guessing with kind of the Amazon, like the pressure they feel from online, are they really looking to innovate kind of the design of their stores? Do you feel like that opportunity is there from that standpoint?
Oh, definitely. The big thing right now, as many people might have heard about, is called the retail apocalypse. It's over-exaggerated, and many people are blaming e-commerce because of the convenience of it, but really it comes down to more fact of data they can gather too. You can't gather a lot of data from the store as much as you can from purchasing online. So like Walmart, for example, now is really trying to bridge that gap by bringing, for example, robots into their stores to find empty SKUs. And those robots cost $100,000 per store. Yeah.
Sorry. No worries. Will your software be able to capture things like the person who buys this also tends to buy this, this, and this? So you've got real rich data there?
The reason, no, because the reason we're trying to...
We could do some of that through frequency analysis.
Anonymized.
Pattern.
Yes.
Right.
But since we don't track the person, we can't give you like a guaranteed, for like a path through the store. So it is anonymized, but in aggregate, I think you could get to some of the same conclusions.
What we can do on that point too is we can say, okay, a lot of like razor blades have come off the shelf, and also shaving cream. Like obviously those are obvious ones, are complementary, but we can show that during the entire day. So you can make, okay, these days you're selling a ton of this and a ton of this at 3 o'clock. Or it's moving off the shelf. It might not even selling. It's like, it's moving off the shelf, but it's not selling.
Seems that you might have an upstream opportunity as well, because I'm looking at that, and I think the example you gave was like men's razors or something like that in the front. Well, the other thing I could do if I'm a client or if I'm a potential customer is I could just take one and rip one, right? Because a lot of those things just come on cardboard back with a little hole and a very, like at that point it's very weak, right? So I could just rip it off, and now I've kind of defeated the system, if I will. Or if you will. The other thing is I'm thinking of hangers. You know, like how do you know, like if I'm looking, I'm like, I don't want the first one, I want the third one or something stupid.
Yeah.
Right. And so I take the third one. Well, it kind of defeats the whole system. But it almost seems like you have an opportunity to say, well, we can also develop complementary hanging systems and swim upstream so that now you can force your suppliers to use, you know, to package it in this way so it works with our system. Now you got a lock.
Yeah.
Right?
And that is definitely one of the thoughts too, especially when it comes to like hanging products from like clothing. Because right now it's not designed for clothing, obviously. It's designed for any type of products, like you mentioned, like razor blades. But so, for example, if you did pull that razor blade off, you're right, the system would be off, but the next person that comes forward is going to pull it forward and then push it to the right place. So there is that inaccuracy, which is why we're not saying we're guarantee you everything's going to be right, but it's going to be closer than what it currently is, which is only 63% accurate. But that's a really good point too about developing a system to go along with it.
Right here. So you mentioned that, like, you know, it notices when something's pulled off the shelf but not purchased, and then you also mentioned like you're developing like a POS system. How does like that rack, you know, like integrate with, you know, that purchase to find out that it actually has been purchased?
Yeah, so that would be a cross-platform integration that we would use with a current POS company. So a big one's NetSuite, for example, Oracle NetSuite. We would work with one of the current ones, not really developing a whole new one because retailers put hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into these POS systems. So our goal would be like, hey, we want to integrate with yours and provide you with more information. We're going to charge us an integration fee, obviously, but it's going to be easier than trying to develop and sell that full system itself. Absolutely.
And then that data will just be available in the application.
There we go, yeah.
What's like the, I'm thinking about like the sensing suite you guys use, like what's the protocol, your BLE, are you, like what do you guys use?
I don't want to go into a ton of detail because we have international patent pending on the mechanism and everything. As you can see, it's really small, lightweight, compact.
Yeah.
Like this is a live unit, and it, you know, you can, because we want these to be movable around the store just like regular books. So not too many details. This current iteration is 900 megahertz instead, which allows us to hit that like several years battery life that we're going for, to make it just a hook, not a appliance that's plugged in.
And when the battery does go, is it just a swappable battery, chargeable, or the device gets returned, or what's the plan for that?
Yeah, so if, for example, if one did go out, the system say, hey, this Acutrack is no longer responding, retail would go over and say, oh, okay, the battery's dead, or the circuit board's not moving it properly. So they can either replace themselves, or if we do the model of make this a whole package, we can come in, replace that, they'll send it back to us, we'll put a new circuit board and a battery in, no cost to them throughout that process.
In that second example, we could charge a monthly fee for the entire system. The hardware, the software, everything, we take care of it, you don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Where are you currently manufacturing the products here, or are you guys
Having another manufacturing house.
Yeah, so it's a combination. So the plastics and the hooks are made in China through Redmond Corporation. And then for the circuitry, we work with a company in Madison called Proactive Engineering. So I couldn't think of it for a second.
what is it all assembled together?
It's all assembled normally right now at Proactive. So they'll get the units, they'll get the plastic ones, we'll send it there, they then put the circuit board in there and the connection. Of course, that's something that we're considering, like what's the most efficient way to do, but that's what we're currently doing for prototyping.
So I would imagine that a pretty dreamy scenario would be you just happen to have a Walmart general manager here today and said, oh my gosh, that's amazing, put them all in my store tomorrow. And now you need 15,000 of these. So you showed, I think, 5 people on the slide earlier. What's the next step to be able to create more of them, to be able to provide the services regarding installation, regarding replacement, those sorts of things, whatever sort of training you need? Can the 5 of you do that, or do you need to ramp up somehow?
Definitely.
It's ramped up maybe a little bit more than you even talked up. These are in stores in 4 different countries, I believe.
Yeah.
This version, not the electronic version, but this hardware version. And I mean, later today, potentially, we're actually going to a store. We're going to swap them out for a newer version ourselves. But that supply chain has been working pretty well for you, I think.
It's going to be a lot, I think, once we get to that point, like you're mentioning too, a Walmart store. It's going to be a lot of getting teams together that can do these type of installation work. That really comes from a partnership. Like Brugman, for example, already does a lot of these installations, and they're interested in the electronic version. So we'll be like, okay, this store needs a replacement of these, so they have teams that will go in. But for us ramping up personally as DaVinci Industries, we're looking to raise a seed round too. So right now we're looking to raise a $200,000 seed round. We're breaking up into 2 parts because the $200,000 is really to get the electronic part deployed in the market. And so far we have committed $100,000 of the 200 and have quite a few meetings till the end of the year, hopefully to get that other $100,000 and close it.
And to answer your question on the software and tracking side, the next step for that is a case study. We have a partner in place, but we're looking to refine the software and make sure that's actually production ready before we do that case study.
Can you talk a little bit about the process and the hurdles that you guys saw when you were taking this to like having an actual product that you can sell? We've had several hardware companies come through here, but I always wonder about what does that process really look like, especially for a company like yours that's pre-seed?
Pretty awful. So when I started making it, this literally has been in development for 2 years to get to work the way we wanted, and even some of the units out there had to be replaced because they're an older generation. But so essentially what happened was we started making it, we 3D printed as the first part. 3D printing this belt is physically impossible. It turns into like a cookie crumbling, really. So I had to go and actually get a manufacturer to then do mold injection process on it, which was very expensive. Fortunately, we partnered with them and now they cover a lot of those costs. But we kept getting units after units after units that didn't work the way we wanted. And we had to keep iterating it and essentially getting rid of all those other units that weren't working, which is really frustrating. And especially one time we got units that came in and they got it from a different supplier for their plastics, which shouldn't be a problem normally. But we got the belts and they looked like Stay Puft Marshmallows. And it was very, very frustrating. Did not work at all. And then I just broke the Acutrack in half because I was angry. But essentially, it's been a long process just to get the hardware actually working the way we want it, and it's still being iterated. So like with Brugman, they're looking at so many different changes in the design and iteration to not have this as like a custom design that every customer needs, but something that's a size like, if you're like, I want this version or I want this version, but only like 3 major versions for mass production. Does that kind of answer all that?
Yeah, absolutely.
More of just a product-based question. So when people do store resets, they're crude. I mean, store resets are hooks and pegboard, and they get bin piled, and that whole culture of not handling or caring about the product. What is the durability and the life of your product being that that's how stores are reset? Because I see a lot of moving parts that are very, you said the circuit board. How often are you going to have to replace that circuit board when it gets thrown in a bucket?
Yeah, right.
I hate to say it.
No, for sure. I totally see that happening too. It already has happened. So my aunt actually works in planogram resets, and so she told me that'd be a huge issue. So like this version, for example, I can throw this around, I can do whatever I want with it, and it will not break no matter what. And the part you brought about moving parts, we don't have anything mechanical under it, like any mechanical springs or anything like that, for that concern reason. So we want to make it simple and easy so that those parts don't break and break down when someone's throwing it around or placing it improperly. And also, kind of another thing too is with the hook too, right now you have to take the hook off, you got to put the unit on top, which is a pain and nobody's going to do that. So we actually developed a hook that goes straight in, so you just go like this, put it down, and the unit's in place. Throwing around the circuitry and stuff, that's something we're definitely going to be after testing. I'm sure Ace Hardware will help us throw it around quite a bit. They have a huge bucket of hooks they just throw in there, so I expect these to sometimes get thrown in there and see how well they work with it too.
Okay.
We were in one of the Ace Hardwares that has these installed yesterday, and there's a whole section where they had taken all the hooks down and repositioned everything, and they'd actually still used every single Acutrack, I think.
Yeah, every single one was up. They did definitely, not destroy the belts, but they were definitely damaging them, and you can tell what some people were doing.
In one case, we found 2 with belt issues.
Yeah.
And those were a previous generation of them.
Yeah, so we changed the generations for that now. The belt cannot fall out at all because that was happening. I got a call from me, sort of like, the belts aren't working. I'm like, okay, so I came in and I looked and I'm like, no, the belt's working. You just tore it out of the housing.
Talk about your subscription model for a second. Because I can see that working a couple different ways. If you're a small retailer and you just don't want to worry about this stuff, and there's a reasonable fee for a certain number of seats, if you will.
Exactly.
That could be very attractive, and that could also be very attractive to a larger store that doesn't want to have staff dedicated to that. You come in, you deal with the units, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So can you talk about that seat structure? Is there a seat structure for the subscription?
Definitely, and that's something that we're working on building out right now too. So if you do comparison of, like you mentioned, do comparison of inventory management systems right now, they can range anywhere from $25 a month up to $4,000 a month per store. So there's a big range and big difference in that. Originally, we were looking at a pricing model of 250 Acutracks at $25 a month. But it's going to depend when we talk to the retailers and do a case study with them to see, okay, what value proposition do you see here, what do you see here, and what do you see here, and then kind of pricing it out that way. Ace Hardware is totally fine with the current price level of $25 for every 250 Acutracks, but that might change, especially when we start talking about larger retailers and the type of retailer too, right? Grocery stores might be different than convenience stores because they're looking at different things. And the larger stores aren't going to need us to give them like a nice spreadsheet showing off all the numbers because that's all going to be done internally. So they're not as concerned about that. But a smaller store like Ace Hardware is going to want to see how other Ace Hardwares are performing. So adding information like that.
Are you collecting any type of data regarding theft deterrence? I mean, just seeing one of these units, I would think would have a psychological deterrent effect as opposed to a bare bar where you can sweep it.
Yeah. I occasionally go and I'm just like walking around and I see people like looking at it too. And they actually told me a story about they had someone come in and they knew that this person is notorious for committing theft. And he came over to the units, looked at it, and was like looking like, should I do it? Does it have any electronics? Is it tracking me? He's like, not worth it. So then he walked away from it. But with the theft deterrent aspects of that too, really, that's going to be super helpful once we have the electronics in there too. Because once we can say, okay, this someone's clearly taking all these units off, we can have someone go over there. Just having an employee there is enough theft deterrent. Not saying anything, just being actually at the area is enough theft deterrent to stop the person from stealing more and sometimes put back what they already took. There was a study where they had it on Red Bull and they had a tracking system on Red Bull. Every single thing had an RFID tag. And they saw, okay, all these are moving off the shelf really quickly. The manager came over, talked to the person, hey, can I help you in any way? Like, I left my wallet in my car. And then left with the store without taking anything. So just being able to a reaction time fast enough to do that. Because right now you could do that, but in a larger store you don't know where that necessarily is happening.
Like this would give you some of that heat map data to say, here's my theft hotspots.
Yeah.
We need to do something here, mirrors or or just station somebody there.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the alert system on that?
Yeah, so the alert system, the electronic one, it's not built into it yet. We're adding that feature later, but essentially, this is the electronic one. This is the electronic one. When you move the belt forward on this too, okay, so if I go from here down to here, it'll send a push notification to an employee, possibly one near, possibly a little bit further out, and say, hey, unit 36 went from 15 razor blades down to 0. That's not a good indication because nobody needs that many razor blades. So then they would have a person come over and essentially do that work. Hey, can I help you in any way? But additionally, along with that, if you're not fast enough to catch it or people are taking a small amount of products, we'll then see later, oh, so all these products came off, but none of them were sold in front of the store and they're not here anymore. Clearly something's going on if it's either on the employee side or it's on a customer side. So actually.
And what do the employees have for getting alerted?
Well, I mean,
we can use everything from their own phones with an application, or down the road, it's not done yet, not built yet. Everything from their own phones with an application to a display similar to this. We're going to have a display that's very similar to this, except it just is a grid that allows you to monitor a bunch at once. Because one thing with cameras, if you have a bunch of security cameras, and you're busy, you're working, and you're not really watching those cameras. So somebody could do something, and if you weren't staring at it, you missed it. But if I have my display up and I have a lot of high-value products, we have one potential partner soon for slightly different hardware, where their products could be a couple $100 an item.
Yeah.
So, but if I have a screen of green, and then I'm working, and then I turn back and a whole aisle has turned red, or a section has turned red, then I didn't even need to be watching it at the right time. I know now that something didn't go right in that section.
And are you getting feedback about employees having to install an app on their own personal device for this purpose? Or do stores really want their employees engaging with their phones? Because most likely they're probably going to be texting, but could say they're looking at the alerts.
Yeah, so we talked to the Ace Hardware store about it, and it might not necessarily be the phone too. They always have like other equipment on them too, for example, for scanning different products that also have Wi-Fi capabilities. So it could also connect through that and send a notification on that as well. Because yeah, definitely, the fact that you can install it on the phone is great, but you're right. If you have people looking at it, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm checking the inventory, but you're actually not. That can also be a problem. So really finding the equipment they're currently using to and integrating into that is not very hard either.
Okay.
Well, and if you have a theft security employee, they can be pinged and be on this all day long, kind of going to the store to the hot spots, checking things out, if you have a big enough concern.
On this tech stack, we're pretty confident we can integrate with a lot of different devices like that. So we haven't chosen specific targets yet.
Because most retail employees probably have something on them, like whether it's a phone or a walkie-talkie or like some other type of scanning device, right?
So a lot of consumer product companies utilize their package to sell their product, and the biggest space for them is the back of the package. There's a lot of consumers that pull a package off a hook just to read the back of it and may choose not to buy it. How do you combat that? And if so, I mean, how many customers are just going to throw it on the shelf because they don't want to put it back on the hook because of the culture there? And with that, is that cost of having a retail employee reset all of those things that are not purchased because it was pulled off the hook and set on the shelf, now outweighing the cost of having this device?
Well, I can tell you from the Ace Hardware store that we're not noticing anyone taking them off and not figuring out how to put it back on right now. It's pretty intuitive. However, you got a good point too, when you take products off and they're left there, it kind of sucks. But it's even worse too if it's stuck there the entire time because it makes the store look worse and possibly people think they can't buy it. So just having that notification saying, hey, this product came off, it wasn't sold at the front, it's either stolen or sitting on the shelf, here's where it's at, rather than looking around the entire store, not sure where it would be, is super helpful too. So if the product does come off, gets put down, they're gonna know where it's gonna be. The other part too is that it's pretty easy to put it back on, it's pretty intuitive. So when they do put it back on, it will go back into the inventory management software.
Right, but right now there's hooks in stores where people pull it off the hook and throw it on the shelf.
Oh yeah.
Even though there isn't an intuitive way to put it back on, it's just a basic hook.
Yeah.
And right so what does that cost to have an employee walk around and find all of these that weren't sold and put them back on?
Well, they're doing that right now when they do the front facing in all the stores. So they do it from 7 to 10 normally in each store. And that's when they're finding all these products. The issue is when they're doing that right now is that they're not sure where those products are. So they're looking around for them and spending additional time looking for them. They might not necessarily go there, like if we tell them, hey, this product's come off and it's sitting on the shelf, they're not probably going to go there at that time, but they're at least going to know by the end of the day where the product could be at.
So your payback is somewhat skewed because you still have somebody that has to go and reset all of the unsold items that may have been pulled off.
Yeah, so the numbers on here are talking about looking at with just front facing. So when we went there, we took that into consideration of front facing, not including stacking inventory and putting it back on. And then we also looked at, okay, what's the actual cost for us of putting those products on? So that was subtracted in the upper part of the year.
Okay. Because right now the solution is just an employee down every aisle, look at every product every day. And there's a lot of efficiency you can gain from finding that.
Got time for probably 2 more questions. Chuck, do you want to?
The basis of your system requires something that's hanging from a hook.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I said the basis of the entire system requires something that hangs from the hook, a product that hangs from the hook.
At the moment, yes. The goal is that this will be for anything you see in a store that's on a shelf or really anything in the store.
So yeah, that's what I was, my question was, are you looking at the next generation where you might be able to put boxes of cologne or something?
Yeah, definitely.
A shelf or a bag or something?
Yeah, we have a client we're going to be working with soon that we're going to be doing a pad-like one for liquids. So it's not going to be on a shelf, it's not going to be hanging. It's just us, it's going to be sitting on a shelf that's liquid, and the pad will go under it and track that inventory once it's lifted up.
Do you want to see it in a store or any of those Ace stores?
Sorry, what was
Are
that?
any of the Ace stores in this area?
There are Ace stores in this area.
I know the ones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, no. Just in Janesville. So if you want to take a 45-minute drive, go down to Janesville and see them. Totally fine. I'm looking to get into ones around here. I'm hoping I actually get an introduction from the owner of the one in Janesville to get to the ones out here too. There's also a few that we have in Minnesota. So if you ever want to go to Minnesota and see it too, you can go there.
I will say, just because I'm from Minneapolis, we talked about it, are the ones in South Minneapolis, do they have a product?
There's one, yeah, there's a True Value store down around there.
Okay, so yeah, I got another one.
All right, let's hear it for DaVinci. I have 2 of you. We only brought 1 mug, but also I remembered to give the mug. Everybody be proud of me. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this to you guys. So thank you for coming to present. Are you going to hang out for just a little bit after the presentation?
Yeah, definitely.
So if anybody wants to say hi, grab business cards, feel free to pop on up here. Final thank you to Starting Block for their continued support and Dream Bank for the space. Make sure to grab the app and check in. And also, we will not be here next week. Like I said, if I'm wrong, it's Josh's fault. Let's hear it one more time for DaVinci Industries. Everybody have a great rest of the day.